Alrighty, guys, here we go. The second game in this best of three. That was the NwGG finals here. Start the game there, as I have it paused in the beginning. But we will have spawning in the top left-hand corner the winner of the first game, looking to make it 2-0 and take the victory in the finals here. It is the purple Protoss, Epy. And his opponent spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, looking to bring this back to 1-1 tie, trying to win the finals here. It is New World Gaming's Sundowner. Now, we saw Sundowner do a mech build in the first one. Now, it did great in the mid game, but he had a bit of a struggle with that transition from the mid to late game. Now, what he decides to do in this one, we'll see whether he goes for a more common bio build, or whether he decides to go back to that mech build that he looked like he did very well in last time. Now, we have, obviously, supply depot on the high ground as well as the pylon, so we're not going to see any fast expand come down, which, on Whirlwind, you could probably get away as Protoss or Terran, playing a little bit greedy and getting that expansion first. Now, we don't see expansion first happen in this type of matchup. It's usually against a Zerg that you see that type of expansion first, just because against a Zerg you can kind of get away with it, because the Zerg obviously usually goes for a hatch first against a Terran or a Protoss, unless obviously he's doing like a 10-pool cheese or something. But against a Protoss in a PvP or a PvT, they can really punish you for being almost greedy like that, just because they can get out a lot of units that can beat you, and both of them can one base or keep, obviously on one base for a long period of time. Obviously, Protoss can one base longer than Terran, in my opinion, but you can still punish someone as a Terran on a one base situation. Now, we have this refinery coming after the rack, so it's going to be Marine. We obviously see the Marine coming out, so obviously not going to be a Reaper. But we have Cybernetics Core after Gateway, so very common Protoss build here. We have a pylon in the back, which looks like it's going to be for some tech buildings in the back to try and hide them later, or forge in the back, cannons on the mineral line to stop drops, anything like that. Now, we have the probe being pulled off to try and deal with this SCV, keep him out of position. Now, that SCV tried to hold his ground for a little while, but decided that's kind of a bad idea and decided to just run away. We still have this probe here, which I don't know what his plan is. I think he's just scouting a bit. Oh, he's going to the watchtower, so he's going to take the watchtower to see any type of drops that might fly over the top. Usually drops will go all the way around, or they'll go through here and go up, or however he's going to decide to do that. Now, he goes 2 racks before factory here, so, and with double gas, so I think we're going to see a more mech build coming out, especially because he did get that tech lab down on the barracks, and he is throwing the reactor down on the barracks as well. So, looks like we're going to see maybe a Marine Marauder build with tank support, or with Widow Mine support, one of the two. Probably Widow Mine, because I think Widow Mines have become a lot more common in the kind of bio build, just because tanks really have become more of a tech build type of situation, and they're very unmaneuverable in my opinion, just because it takes a long time for you to get a tank into a better position, and if you get a tank out of siege mode, it can be picked off very easily by stalkers, by zealots being warped in behind it, and that whole situation. So Widow Mines, especially because we're seeing the reactor, it's either going to be Hellions or Widow Mines, and Hellions not very good against Protoss in my opinion, because what are they going to be able to kill, They're obviously not going to kill the only biological unit for Protoss is the Zealot, I believe. At least for the units, it's only the Zealot. So in a fight, Hellion's going to be almost useless because everything else is armored, and armored units will get no effect against a Hellion. So it's like we're probably going to get Marines out of here. We have 1+1 attack coming down as well as stim pack, and about 5 Marines out right now, which is pretty standard. Now, we do see Epy expanding here, which is, like I said, very standard. He does have that supply lead here against Sundowner, and Sundowner is supply blocked at this point, but he's throwing down 2 supply depots to make sure that doesn't happen for a while. Now, Epy in a great position, not going to get supply blocked anytime really soon. He's got Warp Gate finished. He's got a Stargate going down. Now, a Stargate at this time could be indicative of a Oracle play or a Void Ray. Now, Void Rays have shown to be extremely good in any matchup, especially if you are looking at your opponent, as he went a very mech-heavy build last time, and if he goes a mech-heavy build last time, and had a good, oh, he threw out Hellbats here. Okay, so Hellbats instead of Widow Mines, which I guess are fine. Hellbats will do good, but Hellbats, they'll tank a lot of damage, but all they're going to really do very good at killing is probes and zealots. Stalkers will be able to outrange the Hellbats, and they'll be able to beat the Hellbats eventually. Now, we do have Void Ray, 1 Void Ray coming out, and we have a few Stalkers out on the field here. Now, that's not enough Stalkers, in my opinion, to actually beat this force. It has 1 Marauder and a few Hellions here, or not Hellions, but Hellbats, with more Marauders and Marines coming across the field. We have double Widow Mines coming down, which I think he'll probably wait for the double Widow Mines, and he's going for the +2 attack as well, so he is going to have that upgrade advantage on his opponent, which, especially against Protoss, is very, very effective. It's going to make these Marines very good, very, very difficult to defeat. He needs to get the combat shields, though, because combat shields are really good, especially when you're facing Stalkers. The combat shields will be able to deal with a lot of that damage output that the Stalkers do have, because the Stalkers' DPS is really not very good, and you're going to need to kind of suck up a lot of that damage, because the DPS of Marines is extremely good. Now, he's got a couple Widow Mines out. He needs to get those across the field with his army. He's got the combat shield on the way, and he's got +2 attack. Now, he is taking an expansion here, getting a missile turret on the side of this kind of area over here to prevent kind of a Warp Prism drop or whatever he might see out of his opponent. He'll be able to prevent that, which is absolutely great to try and prevent that. That kind of situation is really going to be like game ender here. Now, we are going to see Marines come down here. Photon Overcharge on the Nexus. Oh, that's going to kill off. Oh, he loses a Hellion, or a Hellbat. I keep saying Hellion. He loses one of his Hellbats and a few of his Marines, and I don't think he actually got a kill here. No, he didn't get any unit kills here. He lost 2 Marines, 3 Marines, and a Hellbat, so not a good trade. Not a good trade at all. Now, it looks like we're going to have like a ferry service here with the medevacs. 3 medevacs are really going to make a huge difference in the next fight with those Marines. And he's bringing 2 Widow Mines, a Marauder. So, 2 Marauders, 4 Widow Mines, and 3 Marines. He really needs more DPS in that composition, so he needs more Marines. He's got 3 Marines going to be able to be produced at a time. He needs more racks, so he does have 2 more racks coming down, which is great. And he's got that second orbital command going to be able to lift off. Good saturation on that main base here, but we do have a stare-off coming down here. The big stare-off here, as both armies just going to look at each other. We got the Widow Mines coming down here. Oh, one of the Widow Mines gets taken out, but oh, good kill hits there. Going to kill off 2 of those Stalkers. And behind this, Epy just taking a third. He's like, alright, you can come in here. You're going to be able to do all this damage, but this is a very dangerous situation here. He's going to be able to throw down the Photon Overcharge. Does he have enough energy? He does. He should have enough energy here to throw down another Photon Overcharge on the Nexus. He really needs to throw it down. Oh, it's not going to matter. The Nexus is going to get sniped here. And these Marines going to do a good bit of damage to these Void Rays. Now, the Void Rays, obviously, there wasn't enough Marines to do enough damage, but if you can get these Void Rays to pull over underneath of these... Oh, they're going to come underneath it. Oh, there we go. Going to get another kill on one of those Void Rays. So, pretty good trade there. If we look here, he definitely got a great trade. 3,000 to 1,000 minerals lost. Now, I think we need to see if Sundowner makes the same mistake that he did in the last game. In the last game, he had that trouble. He did great aggression in the mid-game stage. But once it went from that mid-game to late-game stage, he was not able to have really a good change into that late-game stage. Now he needs more Marines. He sees that his opponent is going Void Rays. Now with his opponent going Void Rays, you need Marines. You need a lot of Marines. He's got Vikings coming out, but Vikings, they're armored units. They're not going to be able to do what you need to do against those Void Rays. Against the Void Rays, you're going to need more Widow Mines. And, oh, he spotted that with the Observer. He's going to kill off all those mines. A bit unfortunate there, but he really needs more Marines and more mines in this composition. Because if he can get the Void Rays underneath of the mines will just melt that force. And he needs, obviously, more medevacs. He needs probably about 6 medevacs and double that Marine count. Because with double that Marine count, it'll be able to do a lot of DPS, melt Stalkers, melt the Void Rays, and we're seeing carriers coming out here. Now we have 3 Stargates here with the Fleet Beacon. The Fleet Beacon is getting the interceptors. It's launching the interceptors more quickly, so it looks like he's gonna go for a carrier build in this game, which carrier build can be really good against the Terran, but he is getting that +3 attack. Now, the thing with that situation is he needs some armor, because his Marines and Marauders and any type of ground infantry unit are so just, they're completely, they can't tank any damage. They're very, very, very squishy. These Zealots can run in there and do a lot of damage. Now, the Zealots and the ground units have no upgrades at all, and the air units don't have any upgrades either. So what his decision is in this type of situation, I think is a little weird. He obviously knows that this army is moving across the field here. He needs to be ready for it. That army could do a lot of damage if it wanted to. He's warping in a lot more Zealots to try and tank a lot of the damage here. But those Vikings are going to be able to melt off air units with those infantry. I like it how he burrows the Widow Mines here. He's trying to draw Epy into an attack here, and he's got a lot of Widow Mines. He does do a scan here to see if there's any type of observer or anything, but it's kind of dangerous. He's just going to go here and poke at this Nexus here, and he's going to try and pull the Zealots. Oh, the Zealots almost get into a really bad spot. If those Zealots would have moved just a couple of inches closer, they would have been just annihilated here. We do see Observer come over here, though. The Observer obviously going to see all of those Widow Mines. Now, he is then going to be able to just kind of run over there, and he could quickly kill off all of those Widow Mines if he wanted to. He's warping in a lot of Stalkers. He's got 3 carriers out on the field here, and if those carriers can get full interceptors, they can be a serious problem. They can do a lot of damage to this force here. These Vikings not going to do very well against that. Oh, there we go. We're going to spot that Observer, going to kill it with one of the Widow Mines, which is a great pickoff again for Sundowner here. Now I think Sundowner at this point, he's got those Widow Mines in a great choke position, almost forcing Epy to stay in that position. He really needs to come in here and see this expansion here. I don't think he actually knows about it. He doesn't know about this expansion here, and he needs to cancel that third, because at this point, Epy, I can't keep him right. Epy is in such a great spot. He has just a huge advantage right now. Now, oh, that wasn't a good trade there for Sundowner. This Observer going to be in just perfect spot to kill off all of those units there. Oh, okay. Here we go. Interceptor is going to be able to clean up a lot of those Widow Mines there. Already killed 2 of those Widow Mines off. Lost a lot of Interceptors, though, I think, in that engagement. It was almost even. He didn't lose too many Interceptors there. But really, those Interceptors are going to just melt the Vikings here. Now, he needs to keep those carriers alive, because carriers are extremely, extremely expensive units. You can't throw them around. They're like Tempest. You cannot throw them around. You have to use them from ranged, and you have to try and kill off as much as you can. He does now see, okay, my opponent's on 3 bases, and base is very well defended, like it's been up for a while. I'm in a really bad spot here. I really, really, really need to attack here. Now we're going to have this battle coming down here. Who exactly is going to win this? I don't even know. It's pretty close here. It's obviously going to be Sundowner at this point, though, just because he was able to... He just had more tank units with those Marines on the ground to take that down. And the +3 attack on the Marines is so much. 9 damage makes a huge difference, especially when you're fighting carriers. You'll be able to... Because carriers really don't have a lot of health. If you can get to the carrier, you can just melt that in no time, especially with +3 attack Marines. Now, he really needs to get... I don't know why he's getting concussion shells. His opponent isn't going for a huge ground force. He's going for an air force. He needs to get +1 armor on the ground units and start getting out more and more Vikings. He needs to go up to maybe 3 starports here, get out more Vikings. He's getting Hellbats, which I don't know why he's getting Hellbats. Hellbats do not attack air. His opponent, yes, has a little ground force, but that's just to tank a lot of the damage. The point of that is not to actually deal out damage, because those stalkers will just melt to anything. The zealots are what's actually going to tank the damage. Against all of this, he's got a little bit of stutter step there. Very cool looking stutter step, but it's like he's keeping on good pressure here, but Epy has a hidden expansion over here with a 4th. With a 4th base, throwing down 4 more gates, he's in a huge spot here. Epy has a huge economic lead on Sundowner. If Epy can just start bringing out more units, he's getting +1 ground attack here, more ground units, and more carriers. If you can really get that carrier number to a really high amount, it's going to do an insane amount of damage with that many interceptors. And if he can just keep on warping in Zealots here, he's throwing down Twilight Council, so he could get charge on the Zealots. And with charge on the Zealots, that can do a lot of damage to this ground force here. What he really needs is he has a good amount of carriers here. I would cut carrier production here, and then just focus on the gates. Get a lot more gates. He's very far ahead economically that he can get a lot of gates here. Now, this is a great pick-off here for Sundowner. It's going to supply block Epy, and it kills off that base in no time at all, killing off all of the probes here on this base, which at this point, let's see, the probe kills 22 worker kills for Sundowner. That really hurts Epy economically here. If we look at the worker supply, he's only has 34 worker supply, which both players very low on workers here. This base here, just not even mining, so it's not even a base here, which really means Epy is only mining off of 1 base. So it's 1 base versus 1 base. The mules will increase the rate at which these minerals are going to die, though. So Sundowner really needs to... He's pumping out a lot of Marines. So if we check the army supply, it is hugely in favor of Sundowner here. With that many Marines here, they have +3 attack. They're just going to melt a lot of this. Now, he does do a lot of sentries here, which could give very, very, very good force fields. With that many force fields, it could really make a big difference. He could hallucinate in a few Colossus that could scare Sundowner a little bit. We did see Sundowner, I believe he spotted this base down here. Yes, he scanned the base. So now he's going to head on down, and he's going to completely wipe out this base here. And once he takes out this base, Epy's in a really bad economic spot. He's got a lot of freaking carriers, though. Look at that many carriers. How many carriers does he have? 10 carriers, which each one can carry 8 interceptors, which totals 80 interceptors. 80 interceptors would kill a lot of these Marines very quickly. And with the +1 air attack coming, that's even going to do more damage. We're going to see a stim forward here into this base, just going to kill off pretty much all of this pretty much instantly. He's going to make sure he kills off those gates, though, because he wants to make sure no units warping in, prevent anything from actually warping in. And this is a big force here for Epy with that many carriers. If he can micro the carriers well enough and keep them back, he needs more zealots in his composition, though. He needs to be able to hold the bio army in that spot for long enough for those carriers really to do enough damage. These Vikings, they're going to be really dangerous in this situation. And that is so many interceptors. Look at those interceptors. They just melt the bio army here. But he needs to back up the carriers. The carriers are in a really bad spot here. take them back them up, and re-attack with the interceptors. Interceptors will completely melt these Vikings in no time at all, and it really just melted this entire force here for Sundowner. Now, if Epy just doesn't have the economy to back up on, though. In my opinion, he could go with more carriers. He needs more bio on the ground to be able to tank a lot more shots here. This very good job by Sundowner by keeping this force here back at home, but to be honest, if he would have had that force down in the battle, he really could have probably won that with the number of Marines he actually has on the field here. That's a good number of Marines, but both players' economy is terrible. They have so much room to expand here. Sundowner has the room to expand if he wants to. He's just not expanding. We're going to see Epy double expand, which is great. By double expanding, he's going to be able to have the economy, but he really should probably fall back with this. He really shouldn't be. He shouldn't be just attacking with carriers. Carriers won't be able to hold it off because their health is just not high enough to be able to take all that on. It is doing a great job, though, at killing off a lot of that bio here. But with a stim forward down underneath it, getting closer to these carriers, the carriers are eventually just going to go down. He's going to see getting underneath of these carriers, and once you're underneath of the carriers, then you're just going to melt the carriers. There we go. Oh, he's down to only 2 carriers left. 1 carrier is what is left of this fight here, and the Marines can still see it. That's going to go down. He has no carriers left on the field at this point. Charge going up. Pretty much no mining at this point. He's only mining out of like a half base here. And he has 2 expansions on the way, but no army to be able to contend with Sundowner's force. Like I said, he needed to pull back those carriers to get into a better spot to take on this army. This army just too strong to be able to be taken on by the carriers. The carriers needed to get more bio underneath of them to suck up damage. That way the interceptors could go in, and the interceptors would be the only thing taking damage, not the carriers. Because carriers just, like I said, don't have enough health to actually fight. We're going to see Sundowner go right in here, and with about 100 supply lead, there is nothing that Epy can do. He's going to cancel this expansion once again and kill off almost every single probe here. About half the probes go down, and with about half the probes actually going down here, that's going to pretty much be it. He's going to lower the number of pylons that Sundowner has. Sundowner just doesn't have anything to do. He's going to keep trying to force field this base here. He's got a couple gates here, and he's going to force field that again. He's got 1 Marauder actually on the field. What he needs to do is put those Marines into the medevacs and fly them up, and then land them up here, and then send half of his force in here, which he is going to do, which is a great idea. He's going to do that. Then he needs to send the rest of the force in here with those units up in the main there. He needs to force field that off. That's force field off, but there's just too many units up here. We have the Hellbats, only sentries left, and sentries are just going to melt. We have the GG from Epy, and Sundowner winning the second match here. Oh, a bit of an off on that force field there. They still get in. But Sundowner pulling it out with the bio build. Bio, Marine Marauder, Hellbat with Vikings against carriers. We don't see carriers that often. And I think it's because carriers really, against Terran, I don't think carriers are that good. Because Terran can just stim forward those units, they can just take mass Vikings. And if you can have that bio army for the Terran on the ground, that's going to distract the interceptors. Vikings, if you focus down the carriers, they go down, and carriers cost a lot of money. They cost a lot to produce, and really, in this situation, they just didn't give enough results to pay for themselves. So, Sundowner taking game 2, tying up the series 1-1, going into a final game for the finals here. Sundowner and Epy going into a game 3. Interested to see who exactly is going to win it. So stay tuned for that one next. This was game 2. Sundowner tying it up 1-1. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment and like the video and subscribe. And I'll talk to you all later. Bye.